Government employees that voted for Trump, what are your current thoughts about him as president? Federal employee and voted for Trump and is on Reddit and doesn't get downvoted to the bottom because it's not sufficiently anti-Trump? Good luck. My parents both voted for him, and my dad works for Customs and Border Protection. They blame Congress. The House, presumably. Congress is divided now. Edit. Folks make a good point that the shutdown began before the Democrats even showed up in Washington. As an aside, watch out for disingenuous trolls in this thread. They're pulling every trick out of the playbook to try to bend facts and rewrite recent history. Don't let them. There are some good faith answers, but a shitload of trolls. Tip for this thread: sort by controversial, I'm going in, wish me luck. It's funny how all the top comments are people who don't actually support Trump, but know people who do. All the actual Trump supporters are being down-voted like crazy. Work for the DOC? Most of my Republican co-workers are blaming the Democrats for blocking progress in fixing the shutdown. They still support Trump. It looks like the shutdown has little to no effect on most people's previous position on Trump. Those that don't support him continue to not support him, and vice versa. I know that Dems shut Republicans aren't going to suddenly jump ship from their team over this. That's kind of an absurd notion, even if you are being directly affected by the shutdown. It's those in the middle who previously supported Bernie, then voted Trump, who will change their minds, and probably already have many months ago. Honestly though, as a federal employee, most people haven't been openly politicizing this in my office. We're just worried about those not getting paid. My neighbor and his wife are both strong Trump supporters and are currently furloughed. I asked them how they are doing today, and the response was along the lines of, "I just want the situation to be over. Not getting paid sucks. Thoughts and prayers. Wump wump." How many thoughts and prayers equal one mortgage? 200 Schrute bucks or 200 Stanley nickels? Not to derail the topic, but for them and anyone else who reads this, a lot of restaurants are offering big discounts, just free food, to federal employees. Fats Cafe, if there's one around you, is giving free food if you show federal ID. Marco's Pizza is giving 50% to everyone with coupon code 50 until the shutdown ends. Those are the two off the top of my head, but I've seen others. Worth looking around to help out people who need it right now. My friend works at a restaurant giving free meals to government workers not being paid. She texted me the other day to ask if I'm not getting paid because I'm military, and the restaurant keeps getting calls from airmen at a nearby base claiming they aren't being paid and want a free meal. I explained to her that the DoD is funded, getting paid, and these airmen are lying to get a free meal. I hope her boss actually puts his foot down on these assholes. Shitty thing to take advantage of. My father-in-law meets the criteria. He's been posting on Facebook about how Trump is trying to end the shutdown and how the Democrats are blocking all attempts to do so to make themselves look good. Looks at Mitch McConnell, stares in turtle. That's my mom. I said they had control the last 2 years. Why didn't they do it then? She didn't have answer. My father, not a federal employee, said it's no big deal. They are collecting unemployment, and they can borrow on their 401ks up to $50,000. This doesn't hurt them that much. I replied, with that may be true, for employees told to stay home. But if they are forced to go to work, they are not eligible for unemployment. And also those TSA agents don't have near enough in their 401k to borrow from it comfortably. No response. It's been 3 days. Same. When I said that with my Republican co-workers during break, it was the effective end of the conversation. Here's the overall takeaway from this thread. The shutdown changed literally zero minds on either side of the debate, whether they were a government employee or not. Edit. Guys, I am not implying that this Reddit thread in any way reflects reality. I am just saying this is the information someone would collect by reading this thread. I fear this is what the current cancel culture has come to. No one is willing to listen to anyone else. The divide has never been stronger. The divide has been stronger. It's called the Civil War. Leading up to the Civil War, one senator physically assaulted another senator. Governments were drawn up, the Union was broken, and habeas corpus was suspended. The era of the Civil War was one of a deep divide that we have barely begun to scratch the surface of. There's tons more examples too. Journalism in the 19th century also makes today look like an era of integrity. Protesters at Kent State are not getting shot, and there is no mass rioting like in the 60s. People who declare this current period to be the worst have no historical perspective. Defense Department employee here. I am just happy he's so adamant about fulfilling his campaign promise. Many presidents give up after the other party opposes them for long enough, so it's refreshing to see that change for once. I'm fine with getting downvotes, as it is completely expected being that this is Reddit, a generally left-leaning platform. Side note, no matter how vehemently you guys may disagree with myself and other Trump voters, I do respect your political opinions. All in all, things aren't going smoothly, but in my eyes, he's trying, as hard as it is to see that. Edit. I understand that there was a lot of flack that flew around everywhere as yes result of this comment. I did my best to answer a few of the less outwardly aggressive comment replies. I chose to ignore the outright insulting replies, as that was not the purpose of the original comment or question. Just realize that I am simply thankful that we were able to spark a little bit of constructive dialogue between two extremely polarized political mindsets, as that is what we, as a country, need in order to thrive. Cheers. His campaign promise was Mexico was going to pay for the wall. I see your Mexico will pay for it, and I raise you truth isn't truth. Not to mention he had 2 years of complete Republican control to build it. But now it's an emergency worthy of shutting down the government and holding federal workers hostage when the Democrats control one branch of government. And people buy this shit. There is no helping people this stupid. They can't think critically and they can't be reasoned with. Thoughts and prayers. I mean, it's half of one campaign promise. He also promised Mexico would pay for it. He promised he would fix healthcare. He promised to fix ISIS in 3 months. He promised to love and cherish a couple of wives who he cheated on. He said he wouldn't take so many golf breaks as Obama. He said he'd drain the swamp, but now has the most financially entangled cabinet in living history. He says a lot of things. If you like the guy for sticking to his word, I have some bad news. The Democrats are holding the government back just as much as the Republicans. Everyone wants to blame Trump, but Democrats could just as easily let the government workers start getting paid again. It's caused by both sides. Just because you agree with a side doesn't mean that they aren't continuing to keep the gov shutdown going. The essence of the shutdown necessitates that both sides are shutting it down. I'm not going to try to swing one side as right, but you can't say it's just one side, much less one man, keeping money from the workers' pockets. It's just biased and ignorant. Here's an individual stating his opinion, and all you do is downvote because it goes against what you think? Reddit shows the true nature of us humans. Edit for everybody. Stating he is factually incorrect. Opinion, idea, judgment, or concept that an individual has. Yes, people, that's why they call it opinions, not facts. I am not debating the validity of the opinion, but rather showing how people react to other opinions they don't agree with. If you have arguments, show them, don't put them down, so people will see how unreasonable his/her statement was or not. Edit 2. It's really satisfying to see OP's comment go out of the negative. I don't agree with OP 100%, I'm not even American. But the upvotes to him will open the conversation for more people to form their own opinion based on what both sides have to say about it. And all thanks to that comment mentioning the controversial filter. What I don't get is why didn't Trump try to get the wall built while he had a majority in both the House and the Senate? Because he knew they'd say no, and now he can have the Democrats say no and rile up his base more? Because even with both the House and the Senate, he wasn't going to get it through. I spent 2015 burning crosses, goose-stepping, and throwing the Nazi salute at kids in an attempt to sway them into becoming racists like me. Naturally, I voted for Trump because he shares these ideals. Now I am experiencing huge amounts of Trump regret because every single policy that his tiny, stupid hands have signed off on have hurt me and my kids. I have no one to blame but myself. I didn't listen to Reddit and am being punished for it like the big idiot that I am. I put myself in this mess, but it's changed me for the better. I started volunteering at the soup kitchen and burned all of my original SS memorabilia. Since disavowing Trump's horrifying racism and bigotry-filled presidency, I have lost over 600 pounds, restored my relationship with my family, and been removed from the sex offender registry. My grass requires less water to stay green, and I won the lottery recently, but of course donated it to the future Madam President's 2020 bid. My kids, who were formerly expelled for chasing around young African-American children screaming racial epithets in full blackface, at my behest, are assisting me with letters to Congress on responsible and achievable gun control measures. The shutdown has been tough. I'm down to 2 kids now of the 4 I started with, and it's become increasingly hard to see due to the buildup on my whale oil lamp. We were never rich, of course, but it's a blessing in disguise as it allows me to know what it's like to in a lower class. I continue to spit on a defaced poster with Trump's stupid face on it every night, but the dehydration makes it harder and harder, and I'm running out of kids. If I don't make it, please make sure my last words are known. If you're going to make stupid politics posts, then at least tag it serious. Imagine putting this much effort into proving to complete strangers that you don't care about something. I voted for the man. My opinion of him hasn't changed. He's going to be the only president in history that will be vilified for doing exactly what he promised to do. Also, budgets, or in this case continuing resolutions, are passed and proposed in the House, not in the Oval Office, and not in the Senate. Edit. Here comes the comments and messages insulting and questioning my intelligence. People can have different opinions and still be civil, except apparently on Reddit. I love Reddit, but it is so biased it's annoying. If you are not a Democrat, you don't have a voice here because you are downvoted. I think he's doing a great job. Not a big fan of the Twitter thing, but at the end of the day, he's doing literally every single thing he said he would do. Not entirely sure why people are so shocked. Also, he brought out how incredibly bad Democratic politicians are. Edit. I'm honestly extremely happy that each of you are passionate about your opinion. The moment we, both parties, give up fighting for what we want is the moment we have lost. I urge you all to stay involved in your local elections and listen to each other and learn from each other. Mexico isn't paying for the wall, the travel ban isn't on, Obamacare wasn't repealed and replaced. He's poisoned the swamp by putting a bunch of corporate America people in power. He literally got laughed at the United Nations. He goes golfing every time he can. I will work so hard nonstop. Coal industry lost more jobs in his first 2 years than in Obama's first 4, etc., etc. How exactly is he doing what he said he would do? He's trying the wall, I'll give you that. I am a federal employee and I'm pretty content with him so far. I'd rate him somewhere around 6 or 7 out of 10. I place economic and geopolitical issues at the forefront, and social issues tend to fall to the bottom. I consider myself fiscally conservative and socially liberal. Under his watch, we've had 4% plus economic growth in multiple quarters, after hearing for years how anything over 3% was impossible. Unemployment is at its lowest in 50 years, and job growth numbers exceed estimates every quarter, and more importantly, full-time jobs have exceeded estimates. African American, Hispanic, and Asian American unemployment is at its lowest percentage in history. Women's unemployment is at its lowest in 65 years. Median income rates have increased. Tax revenue continues to increase, setting new records year over year, while he's cut tax rates for the first time in decades. He's rescinded the mandate for the ACA, requiring Americans to pay fines for not carrying insurance. He's stood up to China's decades of shady business practices, while also renegotiating NAFTA to ensure that Canada and Mexico are doing their parts. He's met with North Korea, resulting in Kim promising to denuclearize the Korean peninsula. He was fully engaged in combating ISIS in the Middle East, though he's now wavering with a possible removal of forces in the area. We finally have a budget for the DoD, with military members having received the largest pay raise in a decade, while also increasing our cyber warfare capabilities. He's also attempted to fix the VA, which is a pain in every veteran's ass. So yeah, I'm okay with him having a standoff over fulfilling a campaign promise to his electorate over adding some form of physical barrier between us and Mexico. Before anyone asks why I've only given him a 6 out of 7 out of 10, it's because he, like most of our elected politicians, will not address our real economic issue, which is government spending. It would be a violation of the Hatch Act, or close enough to not risk the chance, to offer political commentary during work hours, since federal workers are not allowed to participate in partisan activities while on the clock. Might get more answers when people see this after they're done for the day. To those who keep downvoting every pro-Trump comment and calling MAGA supporters ignorant and bigots, here's a free tip: shut your mouth. It's this constant vilifying of conservative viewpoints and chastising an alternate perspective that creates characters like Milo Yiannopoulos and Tomi Lahren, because the right no longer feels like they have a voice and the frustration breeds contempt, which manifests itself in over-the-top far-right nut jobs who may or may not be right, but serve a noble purpose to freedom of expression. TLDR. Calling everyone racist and a bigot every time they don't see eye to eye on an issue is problematic, and that's a good reason why Trump was put into office in the first place. Downvote away, self-fulfilling prophecies are a bitch. Defense Department employee, Republican, not furloughed, currently deployed. Background about me, I am from Kentucky and have a 4-year hard science degree. Frankly, I would consider his actions directly hazardous to my safety as a duty employee. I think he is a poor negotiator who doesn't think before he speaks, and that makes him an even worse statesman. I never had a second thought about President Obama's ability to make the right decisions with regards to potentially catastrophically important geopolitical interactions. I'll be honest, during his campaign, I was optimistic to see what a non-politician could bring to the table with regards to changing status quo. That was poorly thought out. In my research of him, it would have been more effective and realistic to watch his reality TV shows than to read about his past tendencies. The president we have now is the same as the person on those shows. I think his voter base is by and large uneducated and unwilling to adapt. They are the type of people who live for today, regardless of what tomorrow will look like, and as such, they have extremely poor contingency planning skills. Whether they know it or not, like it or not, or support it or not, this country is changing rapidly. Things like energy, education, and societal reforms are all on the horizon because they must be that way. In Darwinistic terms, now is the time to adapt or perish. I consider myself an educated person, and I am willing to admit when I am wrong. Trump supporters do not like to be called wrong. Arguing just makes them dig in their heels. As far as the wall goes, I think it's a decent idea. The execution of his plan, though, is par for the course. Shoddy, hastily constructed and half-baked, which at this point would probably be indicative of the wall that would be built should legislation pass. I voted for him and work in government, but not in the non-paid departments that got furloughed, so I'm okay. I think he's went too far. But I think Dems are stupid for keeping it up. Last I looked, the government loses $5 to $9 billion a week during a shutdown. All he wants is $4 extra billion over the one he was gonna get. So Dems have given up $20 to $30 billion of revenue to say, we didn't give him that money. It's idiots reacting to an idiot. Nobody wins. I think the main thing here is that Dems don't want to concede to a crying kid throwing a tantrum. The moment Dems give in, it's basically telling Trump he can do this whenever he wants to forcefully pass something. Just like any spoiled kid that does this at a store, you don't reward this type of behavior. So if I say Trump bad, I get free karma, right? What a fucking piece of shit childish people we have in this thread, downvoting anything that disagrees with their views. Friend works for Homeland Security. He said he will trade living off his savings a while for a wall. Supports Trump on this 100%. USPS worker here. He's doing what I voted him in for. We're dug in, he's dug in. More balls than any politician I've seen in my lifetime. I thought as much when I cast my vote. Not sure how I like the results thus far, however. The ends are worth a short time of pain. He promised to raise taxes on the wealthy and cut for the middle class. He did the opposite. He said he would repeal and replace Obamacare with universal health coverage. He made no effort. He said Mexico would pay for the wall. Now we are paying. He said he had no dealings with Russia, but he was working on a project with contact with the Kremlin during the campaign. He said there was no collusion. His campaign manager met with Russian intelligence and provided them with demographic data. He said he would spend $1 trillion on infrastructure. He hasn't even tried. He said he was pro-gay rights and has allowed the religious right to attack LGBT. Girlfriend's stepdad is a huge Trump supporter that's not getting paid. Shouldn't come as a surprise that they just blame Democrats, even though Trump said on camera he'd gladly shut down the government for the wall and take the blame for it. Edit. Since a lot of people are seeing this, a little more details about them. They believe racism towards white people is the only racism right now. BLM is a terrorist organization that has killed 50,000 people. Christians are unfairly persecuted, and there is a war on Christmas. They hate that I'm not Christian, although I'm very nice and respectful to them. When my GF grilled them for an answer as to why they act like they hate me, and asking them if it is because I'm half Middle Eastern, they finally admitted, no, we don't hate Middle Eastern people, just Muslims. I'm not even Muslim, just half Iranian. but they don't see a difference and don't see the hypocrisy in saying racism only exists towards white people while they are racist. They even wrote a negative review for my business on September 11th last year. Knowing them, they were mad all that day, and finally late that night wanted to let it out, and I'm the only Middle Eastern person they know. So that was their way of venting. I look 100% white, have no accent, own a business, and still even I have to deal with racism. These people don't care about safety, and anyone who pretends that's what it's about is an idiot or a liar. Thank you for watching. Write comments, put likes. Do not forget to watch other videos.